Federalist 22 is all about the non-existent power of the national government. The national government simply tamed to itself an illusion of control, while states pretty much did their own thing, whether that was making decisions in trade or sending them to fight in national wars. The number of troops was rather inconvenient due to the fact that the number really depended on what each state felt like doing. The Constitution's desire to have judicial power left citizens in a bit of a conundrum. The question arose, who has the final say in the national laws? Hamilton argues that no laws should be passed without the people's consent. The phrase, "no taxation without representation," could be applied to laws as well. No laws without representation. A nation's laws should be approved by those who make up the nation, as common sense would apply. However, although the state governments did have their own individual power, they did have quite a few problems. The states made barriers of tariffs against each other, specifically in trade. On the flip side, one of the numerous problems of the national government was the lack of power to raise taxes for itself. It could only request states for funds. It could not demand them. The government's inability to attain even taxes rendered them incapable of leading even their own nation to success. Federalist 22 is Alexander Hamilton's argument that the non-existing power of the national government will evidently be the ultimate misfortune of the new nation.
Hello everyone, Amy Hislin here with our special guest, Alexander Hamilton. Welcome to Stone's Mustache, Mr. Hamilton. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you. I am honored.
So, Mr. Hamilton, we've brought you here today to discuss your most recent Federalist paper, Federalist Paper 22. Is there anything you'd like to say regarding your latest work?
Well, I'm excited to report that I've made 22 so far and plan on continuing to create these masterpieces.
Wow, looks like we've got a caller already. Hold that thought, Mr. Hamilton.
My name is Thomas Jefferson. I'm sure you've heard of me.
What an honor. Mr. Jefferson, I'm glad you called.
Yes, I'm sure you are. I'd just like to point out that these so-called masterpieces that Alexander here speaks of are actually constituted from corrupt Federalist ideas. They're quite foolish and incorrect.
Just hang up. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Alright, will do, Mr. Hamilton. So my understanding is that you plan to write quite a few more of these papers, do you not?
Yes, I am planning on continuing the Federalist Papers collection. I think they're doing a lot of good for the unenlightened Democratic Republicans here in America.
Welcome back to Stone's Mustache, Mr. Jefferson. We're delighted to hear back from you.
Yes, well, I'm very sorry to disturb your podcast, but I'm afraid that your special guest is a nash-gab and is misinforming your listeners.
All right, you Gobermoosh. I'm trying to record a podcast, if you couldn't tell, and we'd really like to get back to work, wouldn't we?
So, Mr. Hamilton, in your new paper you mentioned many problems concerning our government. Mr. Hamilton, what do you believe that the greatest problem with our government is?
Well, sir, I believe that the lack of regulation of commerce between states and foreign nations is one of the largest problems of our nation at the moment. Let me explain. You see, the regulation of commerce is the management of exchange of goods. It is very challenging to maintain diplomatic relations when we cannot develop an agreeable balance of trade. Many foreign governments are reluctant to establish trade correspondence or treaties with our states, fearing that they will not hold true to their agreements, which many states fail to do.
Looks like we have another caller. Hello, welcome to Stone's Mustache.
Thank you. I have a question for Hamilton. That does sound like a serious problem. How do you obtain to fix it?
Well, sir, the Federalist Papers were written to urge the ratification of the Constitution, and once the Constitution is ratified, which will hopefully be very soon, I will be happy to answer that question. So, sir, you'll just have to wait for it.
All right, thanks for calling. Now, Hamilton, what other problems do you see in our government that will possibly be changed if the Constitution is ever ratified?
Definitely the lack of a Supreme Court. This is a huge issue, and I'm not throwing away my shot if I have the opportunity to make people see that this is a problem. Who is defining and interpreting laws? A Supreme Court is needed to solve conflicting laws and enforce and depict treaties. At the very moment, there's too much bias happening in many courts in the United States. A Supreme Court would be free of this bias, resulting in a truly fair trial.
It's Jefferson.
Hamilton. That was a real nice declaration. But what makes you think that this Constitution is really what America needs?
I want to build something that's gonna outlive me, and it will be the United States Constitution. I want America to be a place where orphan immigrants can leave their fingerprints, a place where laws can be passed without all the people's consent, a place where the nation's government has enough power to make a real positive difference. And I hope that these Federalist Papers will teach them how to say goodbye to the Articles of Confederation and hello to the Constitution.
And on that lovely note, we will conclude our show. Thanks for joining us on Stalin's Mustache.